Whenever power is available, some bad people will aspire to it, and when absolute madness meets absolute power, the following events will haunt history books. Gilles de Rais fought alongside Joan of Arc in the 100 Years' War. He retired in 1435 as a respected and wealthy knight, but rumors soon emerged that he was a devil worshipper. He met with people who claimed the ability to summon demons. It was at this time rumors emerged of him murdering children. They said he abducted dozens of children and murdered them as parts of satanic rituals. After kidnapping a clergyman, he was investigated and accused of murder, sodomy, and heresy, of which he was found guilty. Young boys would come to him begging for food, only for de Rais to brutally murder them. Some accounts of his crimes were so bad the judge ordered them stricken from the record. As he effectively disposed of the bodies, it was never known how many children he killed, but it could have been over 600, and so he went down in history as a devil-worshipping child murderer. There was only ever one empress of China. Empress Wu found her way into the emperor's court. She then accused the emperor's wife of murdering her own child. This claim was believed, and the emperor took her as his new wife. After he suddenly and mysteriously died, she somehow managed to take his place. She was now the first female leader of China. She soon established a secret police force to put fear into any power rivals. Not only would rivals be killed, but their entire families also. Anyone even slightly suspected of being a rebel would be tortured to death, forced to commit suicide, or boiled alive. She would also order the death of her allies, as if she simply enjoyed watching people commit suicide. This man may have been the worst serial killer of all time. He was a leader of the Thuggee, an organized group of robbers and assassins. The group was founded in 14th century India and became so notorious British colonials had to suppress them, and so Thug Behra was a prime target. It's thought he murdered 931 people by strangling them with a piece of clothing. He was executed by hanging in 1840. The Thuggee were terrifying. They would befriend their targets and assassinate them after gaining their trust. Widely feared, they would stab out the eyes of their victims and hide their bodies in wells. Ramiro de Orca was a Spanish soldier active in 15th century Italy. Cesare Borgia was an Italian prince. In 1500 he invaded the region of Romagna. Under the excuse the region refused to pay tribute to the Pope. Once conquered, Ramiro de Orca was made governor of the region. Borgia knew he would act as a tyrant. That's why he gave him the position. Any locals who objected to their new governor were tortured and executed in public as a warning to others. One rebel ran into a church seeking protection from execution, and ignoring tradition, de Orca had the rebel hanged to death from the church building, which told locals nowhere was safe. On December 26th, de Orca himself was found dead in the town square. Borgia had ordered his execution. The whole thing was a ploy to make Borgia look good. It was a major inspiration for Machiavelli to write The Prince. Peter the Cruel became King of Castile in 1350. It was a brutal time with ongoing wars and the Black Death devastating Europe, but Peter of Castile was an unusually harsh ruler. After catching and recovering from the Black Death, he grew paranoid, believing everyone was plotting against him. He ordered the execution of his ministers, his half-brother, and countless barons. He sent 38 severed heads as a gift to the King of Granada. He had his wife executed just for fun. He had prisoners tied to stakes and used as target practice for archery. He was so mad and cruel his own brother killed him. Stella Kübler was a Jewish woman who collaborated with the Nazis. As a Jew, she escaped persecution by using false documents and pretending not to be Jewish. But the Gestapo arrested her in 1943, and under torture she admitted being Jewish. To avoid a concentration camp, she agreed to hunt down other Jews hiding in Berlin. She began with fellow students at the Jewish school she attended, as well as other community members she was familiar with. She would lure them with the promise of food and safety, and then hand them over to the Nazis. It's thought she exposed at least 600 hidden Jews. To the underground Jews in Berlin, she was the most terrifying woman in Germany. The Mad Queen of Madagascar was the last great monarch of an island soon annexed by Imperial France. She was determined to defend Madagascar from the French, but her military couldn't compete with theirs, so ordinary civilians were forced to fight against elite French troops. Even outside of warfare, her subjects were treated brutally, often being forced into hard labor. Even among European colonials, she was considered a cruel tyrant. People accused of crimes would be made to consume chicken and deadly poison. Those who threw up the chicken and poison were judged innocent, but those who died were judged guilty. During her reign, it's thought at least 100,000 people died this way. Eric XIV of Sweden was legitimately insane. For his entire reign, he believed everyone around him was plotting his overthrow, so he would regularly have innocent people executed, and sometimes he would execute them himself. Although Swedish nobles were not plotting against him, his constant murder of their family members caused them to plot against him. They had him overthrown and imprisoned, where he was poisoned. Montezuma was the Aztec king who was famously killed by Spanish conquistadors, and it's the nature of his downfall why people forget how terrifying he was. His Aztec empire held absolute power over other Central American states, and he abused this power. The Aztecs would capture people from other tribes and have them sacrificed to the gods. Their hearts would soon be carved out of their body. It's said they would live long enough to see their still beating heart outside of their body. Because Montezuma was so terrifying, other native tribes helped the Spanish conquer the Aztec Empire. Without their help, the Aztec may have crushed the Spanish, but he was just too evil and terrifying for his own good. Pol Pot was the dictator of Cambodia, who killed 25% of the country's population. He only ruled for 4 years, but that was long enough for the genocide to devastate Cambodia. Despite his parents wanting him to become a Buddhist monk, he took part in a brutal communist revolution. On gaining power, he forced people to evacuate major cities and make new lives in peasant villages where hard labor would make them good people. Many were worked to death. He had intellectuals executed for ideological reasons. It's unknown how many mass graves were created during his reign. More are discovered each year. So that's the end of this video. If you want to support this channel, you can do so simply by leaving a like. And if you want more content from me, I have a second channel where I do different videos about different things.